this conference is incredible. And the passion and the power in this room is a force. I mean, you guys, from 20 years ago when I was in medicine, how it has changed, and the number of women in medicine now, to me, is just so fantastic. You guys should be so proud of this conference, and you're amazing, is all I have to say. Now, the thing is, I have a grandiose goal today. I warned you I was grandiose, is I would like us to use this force to do something very, very, very big. I want us to change the culture of medicine. No small feat. Now, so I started a physician. I became a financial planner. 18 years ago, I went back to school for fun. I actually loved medicine. I loved taking care of patients. And in fact, I still volunteer to this day taking care of the working uninsured in a clinic. And, I'm going to share a story of how that happened. When my husband was in his mid-20s, early 30s, both of his parents died. He was the only child, and he inherited a nice little pot of money. And that was great. And I had a conversation last night. I did not come from money, so now we had this nice little pot of money. And I would always loved investing, so this was the mid-90s. I talked to him, invest it. We turned that nice little pot of money into a much bigger pot of money. And I don't want you to think I was smart, because I was not smart. We were very, very lucky. Because in the mid-90s, everybody who invested made a lot of money, right? So it was enough money where he couldn't retire. Remember, we were only in our mid-30s then, but he hated his job. So he's arm candy for one, which I love. But he's a nerd, an engineer that does aircraft design. That's one of his planes there that he designed. But he hated his job, right? Because it's a tough life. It's a very, very tough job. And he wanted to do something else. He wanted to become a high school track coach and a photographer. And I don't know if you guys know this, but high school track coaches don't make a lot of money, right? And photographers, it's negative money, unless you're really serious like these guys around here are. And so I said, honey, I love you so much, and I want to support you, but I am financially not going to support you. So you need to make sure that that money you have is going to last you, because I ain't going to, I'm not going to fund that. And he loves his toys, so there you go. So a friend of ours suggested, and it was now 2000, year 2000, I'm showing my age here. A friend of ours suggested that we hire a financial planner. So we interviewed all these people, and they were sales schmucks, right? And they were only about investments, not about solving our problems. Answering our question is, could my husband change careers? Because that's what he wanted to do. And so my one piece of advice for you guys today is when you hire a financial advisor, hire a fee-only fiduciary. We're growing. The number of us that are like fee-only and don't sell products, it's becoming bigger and bigger. So hire a fee-only fiduciary. But we didn't find one of those. I didn't even know what they were at the time. That's when I decided to go back to school for fun. That's one of the things I loved about the emergency department. It's shift work. So I went back to school. I fell in love with financial planning, but I still had no a desire to change careers. But there were things about medicine that bothered me. The misogyny. So I was in a group of 24, 2 women. That should have been a clue to me, right? And the head of the group said, women should be home having babies, staying in the kitchen. This was in the year 2000, right? And then one of my good friends in the group, I was not a partner, made junior partner. He said, Carolyn, you need to ask for a raise. You're getting paid way less than everybody else, and you are one of the most productive physicians that we had. Does that make you mad? I mean, it still makes me sick, and I just spoke at the Women in Surgery meeting in February. The lack of transparency in pay for physicians is crazy. Yeah, we need to fix that, all right? So I accepted this as part of life. Like, we have accepted all this crap as part of life for centuries now, and thank God we're stopping. I think we are. Are we stopping to accepting this crap, right? Please tell me yes. But the one thing that got to me about medicine, the worst thing that got to me, because I am a fun person, and I love people, but the thing that got to me about medicine is we are too mean to each other. And so You know, the world expects this perfection from us, right? And we know we can't be perfect. And so it's like we're so hard on ourselves already, and then we berate each other. I mean, so the world expects perfection, and then we expect perfection from each other. And yes, we have to be our best. But mistakes are primarily mistakes of systems, right? They're not mistakes of people. But some are mistakes of people, but mistakes of system. And the primary mistake is poor communication. I think far and above, that is our biggest issue. Now, and I'll never forget, I mean, so we berate each other, and we're just so mean to each other. And we also have that man-up hypermasculinity, right? And I see it. I'm not going to tell you who you are, but I saw a couple of you in here acting like man-up masculinity sort types. I'll never forget, you know, it starts in med school, right? You know, you are trying to jockeying for the best residencies, and then in residencies you're jockeying for, you know, getting the great fellowships. And then when you enter private practice, it's all these turf wars, right? I'll never forget the female surgeon on rounds. And she said, "It is now time for us to go to the family malpractice floor." It shouldn't be like that, right? We should be helping each other. I can't believe that happened. So, what do you want? You know, you guys started in this, you probably had big dreams, right? And you wanted to help people. But because our culture is so bad in medicine, we become unhappy, cynical. The amount of cynicism in medicine to me is just sad and frightening. And then we perpetuate the bad behaviors we are taught. And that's wrong. We've got to stop that. We've got to change the culture. You don't believe how many calls I get from physicians, and in fact, a couple of people have come up to me at this conference and said, "How do I change careers?" That is so sad, because you guys are in an important, great career. And then some people turn, in my financial planning practice, the number of physicians I see that overspend. I mean, you guys make great money, and you're trying to reach for happiness with that money, and that happiness isn't going to fulfill you. I mean, that money's not going to create your happiness. And then some people use drugs and alcohol, and physician suicide is becoming rampant. We have got to fix this. We have got to change this. So, what do patients want? They just want to be taken care of. They want to know the system works, and they want the truth and understand how we're going to fix it when the system doesn't work. When we act like humans and show our humility, they give us a lot of grace. And so creating a culture, a good culture where we can do that, and we can be the true good humans we were meant to be, is what we need to do. So now the good part, though. How do we do this? Are you guys perplexed yet? You ready for the answer? We need to become baboons. Now, baboons are a lot like humans, right? They have females. They have wonderful laid-back males, like a lot of the guys at this conference today. But they have hyper-masculine males, too. And when the culture, or when something is going wrong with the colony, when it's stressed, that hyper-masculine male culture just takes over. And it makes everybody unhappy. And when you remove hyper-masculine males from the colony, it again becomes very peaceful. Everybody gets along, and there's love and joy. Right? And that's true. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So, can we remove our hyper-masculine males? No, we can't. And that really wouldn't work for that female surgeon that wasn't very nice to the family practice service either. Charity was ingrained in her culture. So, we've got to do something different. We have to change the culture so that that sort of behavior is no longer acceptable. And that means changing us. So how do you do this? We do it through the use of engagement standards. Now, when I started in finance, the culture in finance is just as bad, if not worse, as the culture in medicine. So the first group that I worked for in finance, and I was actually part-time in medicine, part-time in finance, because that's when I started to explore the change. Wonderful people worked there. And in fact, most bad cultures 97% of the people that work there are actually good people. Only 3% of the world is psychopaths, right? And so most of the people are good people, but they're acting in the culture that they grew up in. And so I decided the place where I was, bad culture, the only way that I could have a good culture was to start my own business. So that's what I did. And then the good news for me, my business took off. I had all these clients calling me, and it got a little crazy. So I hired a business coach. And that business coach said, Carolyn, list everything good you like about your clients and everything bad about your clients. And from that, we created these client engagement standards, which spelled out exactly what I deliver to clients, like returning phone calls in a day, just these basic little things that don't usually get said. But also, we wrote out what I expected from clients for me to do a good job. It totally changed my practice. And then as it continued to grow, I had to hire people, and I had no clue at all how to be a boss. And the thing I knew I wanted, though, is I wanted the people that worked with me to be happy, love their job, do a great job for the clients. And so I thought, why not create corporate engagement standards? And that's what I did. And you know, the coach you guys gave me, he was fantastic, but he gave me big grief about this slide, okay? Now, the only reason that I'm including this slide, because I want you guys to have it so you can see what engagement standards really look like. And I'm just going to name a few. And these are touchy-feely. That's how they're supposed to be. And if you guys want the PDF, I'll send it to you. But what it says, we want to have fun. So we all have bad days, but if you're a constant curmudgeon, that's not going to fit in here. We have to have good communication. No gossip, no drama. We don't talk behind each other's backs. It's open door policy. And if you say something about somebody, they're going to know it because we're going to bring it out in the open and tell them. And so we talk about respect, integrity, all these things, and it really does work. And when we hire a new employee, during the interview process, we give them the engagement standards, and we say to them, you have to live by these. And what we get, it's so exciting. It's like, oh, now I really want this job. They want to come work for us because they see we have created this fantastic culture. And that causes a problem sometimes. People want the job so badly that they sometimes sign the engagement standards and they don't really follow through. And I'm going to talk about that. But every year, or every time we hire a new person, and at least every year, as a group, we go through the entire engagement standards together and we make certain that we're living true to our word. And it's a responsibility of all of us to call it out if we're not. And every now and then, it happens about every 2 to 3 years, we have a really hard issue come up. And we hire a therapist to come work it out with us. And that works beautifully. To have an objective third person can help you get through sticky things and help you reach consensus on how to fix the problems going forward. So what are the keys to effective engagement standard? First off, these are not platitudes. So you know how companies have value statements and they have the employee handbook and nobody ever knows what they really say? You know, these are things you have to walk the talk. Wait, is that right? Yeah, walk the talk. And you have to live them. And everybody must be empowered to call out when the engagement standards are not being followed. But you still need somebody who is the dedicated culture keeper that is making certain that they're reviewed regularly and that everybody's living true to their words. So everybody's empowered, but you still need a leader. These should be created by the team, and they're a living document, so they need to be updated. But if you have great engagement standards, you shouldn't have to change them that often, or just tweak them every now and then. And make sure you use them to hire employees so they understand the culture from the beginning. So you say to me, Carolyn, you work in a small company. And we work in huge organizations. And, you know, I was in academia, and so I know the challenges of academia before I went and did all this other stuff. And basically, large organizations are just a bunch of groups of smaller organizations. And so you can create engagement standards between physicians, so between attendings, between the residents, between attendings and residents, ancillary staff, the PAs. You could have different types of engagement standards. I think even custodial people should be involved. You want everybody in your workplace to be happy and delighted. And the first set of engagement standards is hard. That's kind of why I gave you my example, because once you create them, you get the hang of it, and it's really easy, and it keeps people involved, and it keeps them full of joy. Now, for the emergency department, there are really some things that I think you guys need to include in your engagement standards. Communication. I mean, you guys get enough drama with patients. You need to not have drama with each other. And you need to not talk behind each other's backs. Uncertainty, the ability to say, I don't know, needs to be embraced as an opportunity to teach and learn from each other. You've got to be respectful. I mean, to me, the world is getting so darn crazy, and if we're not respecting and enjoying one another, we've got to do something and change. You've got to have reliability. I mean, when you've got them 20 deep in the beds piling up, you've got to know that your colleague's going to say what they do and do what they say. And complaints should be embraced. Now, the person who complains all the time and never comes up with a solution, that shouldn't be allowed. But complaints should be embraced, and people should be expected to come up with a solution to their complaints. And if they can't come up with that solution, they need to get others involved, and the team needs to help. So what do you do if you have a toxic situation? You get outside help like we do. I mean, having that objective third party does wonders to help you get through those situations. Everybody in the world should read the book, Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. She does not know me, and I've probably sold 100,000 books for her, right? But it is a fantastic book that teaches you how to have hard conversations without pissing everybody off. And because we need to have hard conversations. That book totally changed my life. And just like you use engagement standards to hire somebody, you can use them when and you guys had a talk yesterday on how do you deal with problem people. You use them for coaching, and if the coaching doesn't work and they're still not following the engagement standards, you can use them to graduate them to a more suitable situation, also known as firing them. So that's wonderful. So, what is my dream for you? It is workplace joy. You guys do such important work. And it's in the best interest of society that you guys are happy and have the culture you deserve. And unfortunately, it's going to take all of us to help you create it. And so I hope you use engagement standards, that you start thinking about using these in your institutions, in your practices, and it can change your life. Now, if you guys, I want to be a bitch on the raft. I am here. If you guys decide to go down this route, then please let me know, and I'm willing to help. So it's been a pleasure to be here, and I'm here all day, so happy to take questions. Thank you for your time.